Hello, welcome to the 300RAwPodcast. I'm your host, Jonathan, and today we're going to be discussing the 2024 solar eclipse. Please bear with us as from time to time we have happened to have a few technical difficulties. As we grow through this process, we will learn from those and get better. And honestly, that's kind of fun part of the journey is you guys get to kind of see that as we go. Anyways, so on today I have the divine couple, Vince and Niyama. And then I also have Andrew, co-creators and co-contributors to the podcast. Welcome, everybody.
I can't explain it. There's this wheel lately inside me, and it's going like this. And I'm trying to see what it is. So I'm like, that's why I'm exercising a lot and stretching a lot. I'm trying to get my body really healthy because I know that the job I chose is over time probably going to hurt it. So I'm trying to get ahead of that. But like, I'm trying to see what the limits of this energy is. And
Well, dude,
when you get
let's get into the podcast. Like, let's just start right there. Like, honestly, so the eclipse, like, so I heard somebody say that that's like kind of the energies, and I've been having similar ones. Like, I feel like things have been difficult, but I've been really fucking high energy and been able to like stand in my own and just be myself. Like you said, to like it's true authenticity, and I don't need to go out to create that with anybody. I can do it right now by myself, however I want to. Like, and if I go out, like I can observe things even a little bit differently, like in real time, you know what I mean? And it's just, and there are certain energies I just don't want to, I went to the gas station real quick with my partner because we had something in the oven, and she was like, the register lady behind it was checking me out, but she had these like huge lips that were like, she was like, I bet she put $1,500 into her lips, and she's like, and she wasn't being disrespectful, but she was like, I just don't know how somebody like who works at a gas station affords that, you know what I mean, kind of thing. So, but like, it's just, and I wasn't trying to be judgmental, but I was like, yeah, it's just weird to me. I don't really, I just don't understand why people do that. She's like, oh, you shouldn't be so judgmental. And I just told her, I'm like, it's not, I'm just an observer. It's not something I want to be around, and I don't have to be right now. And I don't need to be. I'm completely fine by myself, being myself, and have my path in my head that I want to execute. And that's been my goal. You know what I mean? And I truly believe that, like, we are, in my opinion, I'm going to get rid of this thing real quick. But we are like the uh, last part of our family, like, in my opinion, like in this time period, like we're the last part of that spark that's supposed to hopefully solve a lot of those generational things. And that's what star seeds are. And there's these very big energetic things that happen, and this eclipse is one of them. And I think that the same things you guys are feeling and thinking, like I kind of know you guys are going through similar things just in your own perspective, I guess, right? Your own conscious reality, but we do share this collective. And there's a reason that all these things, there's a reason why the eclipse, and NASA's like, calling it a deity to fight Ra, you know what I mean? Like, and we're coming together, and we have people in the group who can channel that energy and pay attention to it and focus on it. And I think honestly, that's going to be the thing that guides us. And I think that there's so much biblical stuff coming out, but I think that that's also can be a very big trap, and it's going to be for some people. What I've understood about this too is about like the red heifers. Is that they were actually raised in Texas, and they can't even have a single hair of like gray or white on them, like completely red heifers. They're raised in Texas. They got sent to Israel already. They have to be 3 years old, and they have to be slaughtered in a site that's across from this other Muslim temple, and they're going to build a Jewish temple, and it's in occupied Palestine now by Israel, and that's why they're actually there. Like, that's essentially what a lot of people, I guess, are theorizing still, but but there are people that are, I mean, they have videos of people saying, yeah, this is where we're going to slaughter the cows. Like, it's not trivial to me. You know what I mean? It's there. Wow. So, but you have all these things, they're kind of coinciding at the same time as this eclipse. So the energies that I think Andrew is feeling, like I've had the same things, just like in a different little bit of, I guess, way. Uh, Super energetic, super excited, but kind of very focused, and really being able to, when I go out and you know, talk with other people, really being able to go out and like try to use a huge observer perspective and alchemize whatever environment I am. Like that's my goal, like every time, to see what, not like in a manipulative way, but like in a, like if it's not somewhere I want to be instantly, I'll leave. Like,
Yes.
like almost like a true version of the truest sovereignty I'm trying to step into.
Yes, authenticity. The more authentic you become, the more loving you become for yourself and for others. And that's how I see the eclipse too. I see it's meant to make us more balanced. You know, when the sun and the moon meet one another, and this time I think it's the moon that is in. It's a moon
It's
eclipse.
a solar eclipse.
It's a solar eclipse, so it means that the sun is, you know, over the moon. So there is a fight happening in the energies. And this time is the time for the sun, right? To rise and to be in front of and to lead. So it's the perfect timing for the sun tribe, for the sun people to really be anchored in their authenticity. I will show myself.
Mm.
I will be myself and I'm going to be authentic no matter what. Watch me. You cannot stop me. For me, that's how I feel. And that's how this whole thing is feeling. And lately, we've been doing a lot of actions, a lot more than usual.
Mm.
Like, usually we were like more slow and like all of a sudden we're like fast, 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 and we're like so motivated, even if at the end of the day we're exhausted, like, but the whole day from morning to night, it's like go, 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 because we have this energy that's like, okay, now it's time. It's time, it's now. I cannot wait 2 months. I cannot wait one day. I have to do it now. So for me, that's the best feeling ever to make anything happen. And that's the momentum that we've been
Creating for
waiting.
ourselves as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, creating for ourselves.
Yeah, creating for ourselves and waiting for. And we are really happy with how everything is unfolding, like the podcast, like, like the house and the project that we are creating and all those things, like, so it's gonna be a fun ride. I'm really curious to see what you guys are gonna do tomorrow.
You mean for the eclipse?
Yeah,
Well, so
for the
far,
eclipse.
yeah, for the eclipse for sure. But I mean, to me, I will take it easy in the afternoon. In the morning, I will have to do my things for work, but in the afternoon, it will be like a time more for myself and to go inward.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, not sure yet. I'm not, let's say for now, I'm not really planning to look at it. More like to seclude myself. That's what I feel for now. Because I was in between, do I look at it or not? But now the more we get closer to it, the less I have the call to look at it. So we'll see.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've kind of felt the same of just like maybe just hanging out in my living room, like so I'm just present in the energies, but I'm
Hmm.
not like out directly like viewing it. But the things I read about it too is this is actually a special eclipse because for one, another one like this won't happen for like another 375 years.
Wow.
And just to give you an idea, like only 8 of these have happened since the secession of the United States.
Hmm.
And you got to imagine some of those have actually, when they cross like this on the solar side of it, they it's over the ocean. It's not even over land, so you can't even really like. It's not even where unless you're on a ship out in the middle of the ocean, you're not really going to be able to view it.
Mm.
And I got to view the one in 2017, like right underneath the full path, and it was so cool, man. Like all the animals, like they went right into night mode, and like you could hear owls, and like of course it's the middle of the
No.
afternoon, and then as soon as it started coming back, you'd hear the animals like switch back into like the morning birds, and like
Oh.
it tricked them, bro. It was so cool. But I
That's
think
awesome.
they say what's special about this one is there's actually like an asteroid that's close to it that's called Apophis, and when you look that up, so that's
Isn't it Destroyer?
well, Apep is the Egyptian depiction of the god who fights Ra, but the Apophis is the Greek version, basically. So they've labeled that asteroid kind of that as well. Which is interesting that NASA does. That's another thing. Obviously, a lot of people are talking about is the three rockets, and what they're named. That mission is named Apep, which is the deity, Egyptian deity of the enemy of Ra, and the god of chaos, basically.
Mm.
So it is interesting, is there a lot of symbolism that they're just throwing out there so people just think it's going to be a way? But I will say there's a lot of people and outlets I've been noticing that they're starting to fully commit, like that this is the rapture, like they're saying that, like, and for people to really say that in the past, to me it was a little bit different, because like that was really going on a limb to say like it's starting right now, you know what I mean.
Mm.
And but you're seeing people who have like some, like Michael Knowles, I listened to some of his stuff the other day, and he was saying, yeah, that's the rapture and all that. Like it's just so it's weird how a lot of things are coming together. They even say about, if you've seen all the X stuff, think about it, like Elon Musk switching it to X, disease X, which is just starting to come out. So um, I don't know if you guys ever listen to any of Janet Osabard's stuff, like The
No,
Fall of the Cabal.
No.
no.
No, that was one of my first. I highly recommend it. And if anybody gets a chance, that's a good place to start on some of this, like stuff. But at the end of the day, like she committed suicide, allegedly, but she was kind of famous for calling a lot of this symbolism out, and that's basically going to be the downfall for people who will wake up and recognize what's going on. So I obviously don't know what that means 5, 8 years down the road. Like, are we moved by then? But these potential timelines, like you guys have been feeling these energies, like I feel it's just a super, it's like somebody hit fast forward on the VCR. And that's just, it's honestly kind of like crunch time. Like we're getting that window, and I don't mean crunch time to me like where I think like, oh my gosh, tomorrow. It's
Hmm.
an incremental crunch time, but we're getting in that window.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they are putting so much symbolism, because it does give them energy. People pay attention to it. And then they tie a lot of biblical stuff into it, which is going to get a lot of people's energy. Like that's a lot of hills that people will die on. You know what I mean? That's a cornerstone belief where, I mean, obviously look at history. It's already shown us. So, and if they really ramp that up in certain parts of the world, like, yeah, we might see some of that, so staying ahead of that, obviously, I think is goal number one. Um, and this symbolism is, it's kind of our duty, from my understanding, that they're giving you the signs, you have to recognize it, and if you don't, you're kind of, again, you're like you're sacrificing yourself to them, you know what I mean. And
Hmm.
that's why it's kind of so out in the open usually. But anyways, I'll digress and let somebody else have the floor for a minute.
Well, me, that's a bit why I feel like it's okay.
Just closer a bit.
That's a bit why I feel like everybody's going in a direction, like the mass is going in a direction to watch this event with the NASA approved like glasses. And I really, really feel like when the sun is fighting the dark, there is no need for an action in that moment, because the sun is doing the action. The sun is putting itself in front. So for me, it's really, it only makes sense for me to step back and be in my present moment, and my action would be to be in my dark, which is in my thoughts, in within myself. So then you can create a contrast of letting the vibration in. So everybody's going in a direction. I'm trying, I'm not trying, I'm going in the reverse mode to absorb the energies that are going to be sent to us. And that's funny because I had a download. Well, actually I had a talk. I have talks, at random times in the night with deities. I do. I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a crazy person. But I had a talk with a deity that was called Darkness. And at that time, I was not really thinking about the eclipse. It was just like a few days ago. I was not even thinking that much about the eclipse. I almost forgot about it, right? And the deity was like, I am darkness and I want to have a talk with you. And I'm like, I don't really want to die. I don't really want to talk to you. I rather not. But he was like, no. And he was really calm, sitting on a type of a throne or a big chair, right? And he was really dark. Not dark like black, like brown like me, but dark like almost black, like the color black. And he was telling me, how all my emotion was working for me or against me in this moment, and that, there was things that was going to unfold. And he told me, the deity, to look at the eclipse. And I was like, why are you trying to push me to look at the eclipse? And I was like, yeah, maybe I should. And I was debating because, I felt like maybe I should really look at it, but with my bare eyes, right? Not with like glasses. And I was like all excited about it. And then the next day, I was excited about watching the eclipse, but it was a urge, like I need to do it, like really, really strong. And then it faded away completely. The energy. I didn't want it to look at it at all. And I guess that I transmuted this being that came to me that was trying to push his idea onto me. But because I'm so authentic and so myself, i I realized that I don't have to follow anyone telling me if I should or shouldn't, right? And it was just really interesting to talk to beings like that, because when you ask them questions, they will reveal themselves and they will tell you what they want from you and why they come. But I didn't feel it was negative. I think some people might even look at it and be really have maybe something good coming out of it. But for me, it was shown to me energetically that I don't have to watch it. I just have to integrate the vibration. But this being was really interesting. I hope there are parts that I'm missing. I don't remember. Do you remember when I told what I told you?
It was about that, but more details, no.
Yeah, I don't remember everything. I'm sorry. Now that I'm being recorded, I can remember everything. But it's interesting. It's interesting. But what is your take on it, Jonathan, about that?
About the dark entity and you transmuting the energies,
No,
or the
mostly about the action towards really looking at the.
I've kind of just had mixed feelings about it. Like, I don't know. Sometimes anymore, it's just hard to know. I don't know. The sun's medicine. Like, so I go back to that, and it's hard for me to think that. I mean, the sun's light. The sun carries information of love and expression, and I don't know. So it's hard for me to think that something's going to get in its path and destroy that.
No, nothing is gonna destroy the.
Like physically to me, or my energy. But I will say I've had thoughts lately that I should just, especially with the meditation, because I don't even know how it's going to go. Like,
Mhm.
are we going to sit like in the chair, you know? Because normally I just kind of laying down, you know what I mean, or sitting
Mhm.
down. But yeah, so I kind of planned on probably just same thing. I started getting these feelings of just taking it easy and not really putting much energy into looking at it, I guess, and the hoopla, because that is a part of it too. Often when they tell the sheep to do something a certain
Exactly.
way,
That
a lot
that's
of
that's my
times
problem.
Yeah.
That's my
I,
problem. They're like, oh, watch it. Here are glasses. We'll give
yeah,
it to you like for free, and then buy it online.
Yeah, my
And
kids came back home with free glasses and they don't have school, so to make sure that they watch it and everything. So it's like,
yeah. Oh, ours are in school, so the school can make sure they watch it
yeah,
because,
like
oh
they
yeah,
just
us
get you.
not.
indoctrinate them there.
No, 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 not here. Here they don't want. They we keep the kids at home for that day.
Yeah,
So that's
no,
crazy.
they're going to observe it and let them go outside with the glasses. And they said that you can opt out. So, but my kids are 15 and 17, and they got to make their own decisions.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that's kind of how I parent. I tell them my little thoughts about it. Like even before the Chiefs parade, where that shooting,
Mm.
like I texted them. I was actually going to do a short little video on my Instagram. I was like, I just had bad feelings about it. And I just knew that they probably had plans to go down there. And I texted them and they didn't end up going, but then they had that shooting at the Chiefs parade. But like, so they sometimes kind of like, I will say, like, I don't know if you guys get it, but sometimes in my circles, even around me, even my family, like kind of out there for them, the stuff I talk about and want to talk about and are
Of course.
purposeful to me. And I don't, like we've talked about before, I don't talk a lot about football and some of the other things they really dive into. So, anyways, like I'm kind of already looked like, whatever, a little bit, out there in some respects. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm probably just going to stay inside and meditate, not really give much thought to the eclipse as far as viewing it. But I do believe in the energies. And I do believe that, there probably is some like ionosphere interruption that maybe can cause something at a later time. I don't know, how that, there's time frames that they said these big major earthquakes, and I wish I would have been able to, remember them all specifically, but they were massive earthquakes in history.
Hmm.
So when ones like these with such energy, these type of eclipses, but they would be like months down the road. You know what I mean, or something like that. Like it was weird, like or even a year.
Mm.
Like it just depended on the eclipse too. Because there are different ones, and at least from my understanding.
Hmm.
So but I really usually always look at it from more of a spiritual side. For me, that's how I look at it because that's just who I am,
Yeah.
and so like when I started learning more of, I guess, more of the biblical stuff and how much so many people were getting behind this is the start of the rapture, and then getting into the other part of it I wanted to talk about on this today. And Andrew can probably help out with this one a lot because it's about CERN. And so everybody knows that's the Hadron Collider, out in Geneva, and it's like 17 miles long.
Wow.
uh so but they're when that thing opened, it was around the last first eclipse, and they did a huge satanic ritual about it, and they have a tunnel underneath it that goes like north to south, and it's supposed to have two side portals, and that's why people do believe that they're opening portals. And again, disseminating information is difficult, but there's so much of the symbology in it. So are they really opening portals somehow? Are they manipulating that energy? Are they taking advantage of this eclipse time, especially where they cross and they can, then I get into things like, can they control earthquakes like with HARP?
Mm.
Is this where they start manipulating your mind like the Matrix, because they can manipulate almost, I think, everything physically. Like they have that ability pretty much. You know what I mean? So much in our I don't know, environment and atmosphere. But anyways, so yeah, I'd like to hear Andrew's take on the CERN stuff, because it's, from a quantum side and what he believes in it, and uh, go from there, I guess, and how, if he's heard anything about the eclipse with those guys.
I don't actually know much about CERN um as like the project. I do know they're trying to build a bigger one. I think it's 36 kilometers. So they're trying to build an even bigger one, which makes me wonder if it's not about speed, but the radius, you know? Like they could hypothetically make it go faster, but like at a certain point, you can only stretch the limits of physical matter, that is how it fits in reality in an observed state when the waveform is supposed to be collapsed. You can only stretch that so far before something happens, right? That's all I'll say. I don't know anything other than that. But if it's going in a circle, right? And once it hits that limit, well, the particle is technically occupying that entire radius all at once, right? Because it's going so fast. So if you do a bigger radius, makes me wonder if it has something more to do with what's inside of it, inside of the circle, then that's my thinking. But I have no information on it, so I'm just doing pattern recognition.
Well,
But
interesting. A part of the collider that they have now, though, is built in a part of France where a Roman temple, Apollo, was it was to honor him, and it was basically a demonic kind of like place basically back then too. Like it was just kind of very pagan, I guess you'd say. So it's very interesting because that part of the collider now is what they say has stuff underneath it. But I wonder if do they have to do it in a radius because of the speed? Because I do know that it's close to the speed of light now, and that's allegedly how they found the God particle.
Well, it has to be a circle because the inertia has to maintain a constant spread. If the inertia isn't constant at high speeds, a change in the trajectory will transfer the kinetic force, ruin it, and destroy whatever is probably going to run into it. So it has to be a circle. Like just geometrically speaking, the physical laws of our reality, it has to be.
Do you think they could ever build an inertia dampener? Have you heard of that concept?
No, because I don't understand inertia enough. I'm still contemplating what it is, but like I don't know what inertia actually is.
Yeah, I just heard this physicist once talk, and I don't know. His name is David Adair, and he was on this Greatest Minds deal. But he talked about building a cold fusion reactor, basically, and the speeds these things could go at was astronomical. But they talked about that basically this sentient thing. He was in the Air Force. They forced him to go into it, drafted him, and he was a brilliant mind. But anyways, he worked by Area 51, and the craft that he said he worked on was of organic and sentient and capabilities, but it had like an inertia dampener on it. And like that's what he said. They had to figure out the facts that like if something, if some of these alleged craft that they've seen, if it makes a 90-degree turn at 1,000 miles per hour, well, any of the occupants in it would just be soup. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, that was getting a little off subject as far as the eclipse. But
the only thing is, you wouldn't need an inertial dampener if you had a vehicle that was capable of creating its own gravimetric field, because you'd basically be like, okay, here's the gravitational constant of the container, and then you have one single item that is like able to manipulate that, and it only affects the item itself. But the container around it, it's a sympathetic thing, so it can go at insanely high speeds and stop. But because it's literally controlling gravity, it's also simultaneously controlling time, because the law of relativity, right?
Relativity,
because it does occupy physical space. It has mass, so you wouldn't actually need an inertial dampener unless you were using like some sort of a propellant or thrust, or like an ion engine, something that is like utilizing the physical space around it to propel it. But if you had a gravitational field, it would be independent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not relying on the environment to move anymore. It is creating its own environment. So from the perspective within the vehicle, it could very well be like the universe is moving around it. It's not moving at all.
Gotcha.
Like Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Doctor Who shit, like a target.
So
Yeah.
so any of the so
Wow.
basically in any of the occupants or anything inside of it is still the same as the vessel, correct? Like, does that make sense? That question.
It's still the
Sorry.
Like
same.
so like if there was occupants or anything or anybody inside of that vessel, they still fall under that same, I guess, principle that they're moving. And basically, I look at it like
It's the
from what
same
I've
reason why. Sorry. Go ahead.
from what I've kind of is that there has been experiments where they've shot matter in front of craft and they've been able to break it up and bend it around it. Is that's
Hmm.
the idea? If what you're saying, and then that matter propels the vehicle, so they're not bound by time, and they're like you said, is that like I'm just
No,
I
that's still using Newton's law, which is classical physics. It's not the same. It
really
has nothing,
okay.
yeah, because it's kinetic based, right? You're saying it's shooting an item at another, and then one item lets go of the other and uses it kind of like to jump off.
Okay, well, yeah, and honestly, like sometimes I think even for me, like as much as I try to understand this, like I need people like you who know more about this to break that down a little bit. That's what I kind of love about the Raw podcast. Is that's what helps us kind of connect with some people who some of this information can be a little, can be a lot, and they can kind of be intimidating. So, like, I guess so. From your understanding of CERN, because I know from my understanding it is based on the concept of quantum mechanics. Are they on the right track to figuring out like anything being able to control basically gravity, like that force?
Humans don't even know what gravity is, nor do they know what magnetism is or light. We're fine.
Really?
Why do you think they have to run it during the eclipse? Because people like us pay attention to shit like that. Like they can run it whenever they want. Why does it have to be during the eclipse? If they can control gravity already,
Uh-huh.
why? I don't know. Us humans, we're our whole reality is based off of observation of the law of cause and effect. Through that observation, we found something that broke that. Quantum mechanics, 100 years ago. That creates a disconnect between the two realms of science, which is what our culture is a byproxy of, basically, all the technologies and stuff. It's really shaped the way we think, all that stuff over hundreds of years. Since about the mid 1700s, whenever the Enlightenment was, the Renaissance, or Newton and stuff, like that era. That's when like the arithmetic really was able to kind of prove some of these law of cause and effect stuff, which honestly is just like 1 out of 7 laws in the Hermetics. It all goes back to alchemy. Like Newton, they all practiced alchemy. Like it's all, if you follow the history of it, it's like it all goes back to Thoth, basically. Honestly, Hermes was Thoth. Anyways,
So are you
humans.
basically saying that like they don't need a collider to figure out how to eventually control gravity if they can do it through universal mind, like universal thought eventually? Or it just happens through science or a collective of both?
Put a monkey in a room with a laptop and see how long it takes them to figure out mathematics.
Yeah, that would take time. Yeah.
That's us with quantum mechanics. Some people, I am not claiming I know anything about it. But for me, the way I see it is like, if nobody really knows, then like I'm going to work with what I have in terms of like, I feel like I have a pretty firm grasp of, these laws of cause and effect, very solid internal logic. I've been able to disconnect my ego from the ideas that I generate.
Hmm.
So it makes it really efficient for me to figure out if I'm wrong or not on my own, but then I'm also open to being wrong.
Hmm.
But I don't claim to know this stuff, but I'm just thinking in terms of like literally if I was sitting down with a blank slate and I was like I had certain rules to go by, what I would design to make a fair game so that certain things couldn't get exploited. Because we're in these containers and like we look at something, it collapses the waves, and then the physical object appears, at least on a quantum level. But who knows, maybe there's like several processes in between that. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's a layered cake. Maybe it's not just you look at something and then it collapses the wave. Maybe there's so much more to it. And it doesn't, for me, it doesn't matter. But I'm also like, I'm going to try and figure it out. And once you realize that, like, you don't have to be an expert to care about this stuff. So don't have to feel like you have to humble yourself ever. Anyone listening to this, like, watch cool documentaries about quantum mechanics, because it actually does help you think about like what meditation could be, and then all this stuff. But like, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. But like, the CERN thing, I wouldn't worry about it for me personally, because the way I see it is whether or not it does anything, I personally have no control over it. Therefore, by me questioning what is going on, I'm feeding it energy.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm slowly giving up my control.
Yeah.
So literally, if I don't observe it,
Exactly.
who knows? Who knows, man?
Yeah.
I'm just focusing on literally the only thing I think about for the past week. It's only been a week, but for the past week. Highest timeline, authentic self. Highest timeline, authentic self. Feeling excitement, generating it. Feeling excitement and generating it. It is such a infinite source of energy. Like, even during this podcast, I'm trying to fix some back pain that I've generated from plumbing. And I'm like finding certain movements of like where I can move my body, and I'm like, oh, and then I deactivate one specific muscle just by holding it for a bit. And then you feel all of them start to shake, and then you slowly deactivate them one by one. But it's like self-therapy. But like, you can just like, I don't know, we can focus on ourselves, make your freaking now moment as awesome as you can. And then if the solar eclipse, if something does happen, it doesn't matter whether I know about it or not, because I will know about it. But if I don't, then I won't. And then it doesn't matter. It'll take care of itself.
Absolutely.
But it'll be interesting nonetheless. I'm
No,
really
no.
stoked
Yes.
to see what happens. I'm really interested, genuinely. But like, I'm not going to feed into the egregore of the hype, because who knows on what lower astral realms they can do with that. I'm not going to participate in that shit.
Yeah,
In any capacity.
because their whole goal is to get that energy to try to their parasites. So
Yes.
why feeding
'Cause
that feast?
it creates an emotion attached to the moment and the memory, and then there's an expectation, and then either it becomes binary, right? There's an expectation. If something happens, if it does, it's neutral. If it doesn't, it's negative. So what? You're gonna have to transmute negative energy no matter what. Awesome. Like unless if it's like a solar flash, right? Then who knows? But that'll happen if it happens.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
The way I see it, anyway.
that's a good point. That's a very, very good point.
I'm honestly just sick of the constant in all our media. They just are like, here's a thought construct, eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it. This is what you're supposed to think. This is what you're supposed to perceive. Like, this is like, and I'm like, man, like, get me, like, I just, anyways, yeah. I'll let somebody else speak.
No, but what you said was beautiful, and the way you said it was exactly the way that I am feeling about it, because the truth is that they are trying to push an idea and a reality and an outcome on us. And if you follow their lead, then you're gonna have a leader, right? And the leader will lead you wherever they want to land. But the truth is that when you become conscious, you realize that it is impossible for anyone to tell you what's going to happen, because you create your reality every second. So you can shift your whole reality in a fraction of a second. So everybody's telling you, oh, CERN is going to do that and they will control this. Well, that's the idea you want to push. If you believe it and if you put all your energy into it, then it might happen, but in your reality, not in my reality. So
the way I think, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I just think, like, is it even physically possible to collapse a waveform before it's observed? Like,
exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what does that do on a quantum level, though? If you try and do that, I wonder what happens to the energy process of where that like energy goes. Do you know what I mean?
Well, no.
Like, if you're trying to like think of like a future event that like, oh, is it going to happen? Isn't it? There's like, the brain is generating energy and it can't be created or destroyed, right?
Yes, because you have to observe it to create it. You have to think about it, thinking, observing, talking, observing, it's all the same thing, and then it happens because you choose to believe. It's like when the weather forecast, it's gonna rain tomorrow. Everybody
Oh, yeah.
knows it's going to rain tomorrow, therefore it rains. But there are times where you choose that you have something really special to do tomorrow, and you say, nope, there will not be rain where I'm going to be. And it had happened to me several times. I said, the weather forecast is telling me it's going to rain, and I have a wedding to go to, and I have a dress, and my dress is awesome. I'm not having this rain today, you know, crazy things like that. But you don't let them choose for you, because you can actually have an impact on your immediate situation or energetic field, right?
Mm.
And you can
Oh, yeah, that's
impact.
right.
Yeah, to that level.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so speaking of that, can I
but
ask a question on top of that?
Yeah.
So, paying attention to that energetic field. So, do you guys ever tie in like synchronicities and things that you see? Like, is that like a guiding force for you and like kind of knowing or like a reverberation and confirmation a little bit that you're kind of on the right path? Or do you think it's more like confirmation based, like you're just searching for confirmation because you believe it.
Well, I think that you create your own confirmation. I think that you create your disasters, you create your blessings, you create confirmation, and you create everything. So if it's like when I used to in the past when I used to want a Tesla, now I don't want a Tesla anymore. I used to see Tesla everywhere. I was like, oh, the Tesla is so. But is it really because the Tesla just they were always there. They just appeared to me because my thought is projecting it in the field. Therefore, every Tesla that is around me has to pass by me. It's just a confirmation of what my thoughts are sending already in my radius.
yeah, and now the Teslas are all around, but we don't see them
And we
anymore.
don't want them. But it's just the reality is created by you. Therefore, when you go see a fortune teller or when you go see a channeler, the channeler will tell you, and that's a construct that people don't wrap their heads around. You go see a channeler, you go see a fortune teller, they will tell you something based of your immediate energy field, which means tomorrow your reality can be completely different. But for today, this is what that channeler, that person can tell you. People have to release the bondage of their brain that somebody told me 10 years ago that I would marry a man and he would be like this. And then it doesn't have to be that way because you're moving through different realities. Of course, there is destiny, some type of destiny, but you can always shift it. And this is what I believe if I go back to the whole thing that's going to happen tomorrow, because it's going to be huge what's going to happen tomorrow. But I choose that the hugeness of that thing is going to be awesome for my future, and it's going to skyrocket my process to become the greatest version of myself, because I choose to transmute whatever they are trying to send towards me, to push on my little body to make me believe things, or to make me see things, or to make me feel things. Because there are people that say, they want us to be sick and they want us to become, like unwell and all those things. They want to, whatever it is, man, whatever they try to do. I'm an alchemist. I take whatever you can throw me and I will transmute it. So whatever you throw me, I can talk to demons. I can talk to angels. At the end of the day, I am the alchemist. It's not the world around you that is the alchemist. You are walking in a, I'm trying to find the words because I see a big bubble.
Dream.
You're working walking into that thing as an alchemist, and you can transmute every single thing that you see. And they are trying to tell you this and this is going to happen. Who told you? Who gave you that power over me? Nah, not happening. So I create it with love. With, it's not that I think that I am a goddess or whatever. It's just I know how conscious I am. I am conscious of my own power and of their limits.
Yeah, and we are all like responsible for our own realities.
Mm.
And I think like the concept that the actual like common reality that we are all co-creating, we're all like equal creators into it. So as many people that can subtract themselves, like
Mhm.
you are saying and doing,
Mhm.
like amazing, like we're all doing like that here. So as more and more people can tap into that type of power, this is where the common like reality will really like shift to
Yes,
another level.
because the
But
new, yeah.
it, yeah, but it all starts from within, and like as an individual level, and then is the reflection that will follow.
Mm.
But it's like the mass, like there is that big awakening, and people they are tapping more and more into that type of empowerment and now like common sense.
Mm.
But yeah, so as the collective like tap into that, this is where the shared reality is
Because the new hurt or the new reality that we are creating is an individual reality.
mhm.
We think it's like everybody has to think the same to create exactly, but that's
No.
not true. Because when you are authentic, you are not someone else. So how can you believe that everybody has to think the same? No, it's not. That's not the future. The future is that
Our
you
species would
will
die
find
if that was the
people.
case.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. I said our species would die if that was the case. If we
Yes,
all thought the same
exactly.
way, we'd go extinct very fast. We wouldn't be able to solve
Yeah,
the problems that we face. Like, sorry,
exactly. No, no,
yeah.
don't be. So exactly. So so I don't know where I was going with
Yeah,
that.
but that's
Of the future,
that's
yeah.
the goal, like to make us all
Yeah,
think the same
because we
way.
will find our tribe. You cannot be friend with everybody because you're going to be authentic to yourself. You're going to be so authentic to yourself that everybody that is not your vibration is going to be like, oh,
Yeah,
I cannot stand you. Then perfect.
it's
Thank you,
scary.
madam. Thank you, mister. We don't have to stay in the same area. So you will meet with the people that are synchronized with you, and because you're authentic to yourself. So therefore, nobody can tell you your future. Nobody can tell you what's going to happen because that's their reality. It's not yours. You choose it. The more conscious you become of that, the more powerful you become within your own self. It's not that you are the almighty
Yeah,
power.
it's Bruce Lipton. Is it one of you guys who sent that to me, or I'm not sure. Like it's Bruce Lipton that said like astrologist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that was Halsey, I
oh, so
think.
yes.
Yeah.
So astrologists, let's say, they can give you a lot of information about like your path and everything, but like the goal is to know like how conscious is the person, because if the
You
person
cannot
is
predict.
very very conscious,
Mm.
you can give them like all the information, like how what is like coming and everything. But if they choose that it will not be that, it will be something else, then they create that other
Yes, because when you
route.
are conscious, nobody can tell you your future.
Yeah, that's the thing, because
Hmm.
you know that you are creator, so you create your own.
Like, oh, you're going to have 7 kids? Nope.
yeah,
I'm not doing it. Sorry. So
yeah,
that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I know for me, I look at it like, okay, so with synchronicities, like I kind of went back to that as just, then if I'm looking for them and am I creating it and then I see it, you know what I mean? So it's kind of one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it makes sense. And I do look at there, I mean, yeah, so I look at the universal mind, I guess is what I call it,
Mm-hmm.
construct, and then there's like a different fragmentation of that individual. So like that's I understand those concepts, and it's hard. I will say in my environment, it's very difficult, and that's probably why I have been spending a lot of time, a little bit more time by myself. But it's been a little difficult to like ingest some of that, a lot of that information out there with people in my environment because it's
Mm-hmm.
so geared towards such a way.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, I think that's kind of been my freak out moment because I'm energetically feeling things a little bit differently and experiencing reality a little bit differently, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost in, like I said, a more slow and tempered way. And like I often see people around me overreact in these situations, and I'm pretty like chill, and like, so like I said, and it kind of feels like you're almost like that neo structured, time is slowing
Exactly.
down a little bit for you, and you're kind of like
Mm-hmm.
processing it, your environment at a different speed.
That's the beauty of
So
it.
I know. So I will say, like, I have this ever desire to like want to try to channel and want to even experience things at a more energetic, spiritual manner. Like that is like one of like my driving forces just behind the person I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, like, I've always been kind of known for good or bad in some respects, beating my own drum, my own tune, and but I will say, like, I think there's been a purpose for that. And whether I'm creating that or I've created it or I've created it for a long period of time and it's like chipped away, I've said it before, like in one of my last podcast things, is like, like you're this statue and it's not about more like molding you and letting the environment mold you, but you're detaching away from all these things. And then when you can do that systematically, I can open myself up for just a way more complex understanding of things. And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like I'm just trying to spiritually and I guess understanding in a physical concept chip away at that, because it is hard for people to look at physical world and think it's such a conscious state,
Mm-hmm.
where things are not physical because that's all you've ever known, right? So I think that is a challenge, for I know for myself, like in for I can feel there are things about me that are still kind of blocked, if that makes sense energetically.
Mm-hmm.
So I know eventually down the road I want to explore that. But I do agree that the masses and the more the universal mind, like tick by tick and chipping away, is like, uh, us having these understandings and having these conversations, like, you know it's going to help, it's going to be helpful for the 300. I just wanted to take time to reference that because we haven't really referenced it much on this podcast.
Absolutely. It's like the channeling, the phrase that Vincent channeled a way back is together we rise, synchronized we thrive. So the 300 is all about that.
Yeah.
It's about when we get together, those that vibrate to your frequency, we have to thrive because you're close to people that are close to their authentic self, as close as they can be, and they are getting better and better and better, right? And we are all working towards a goal, a similar goal. So for me, it's just winning. The 300 Raw podcast, the 300, the Sun Tribe, all that is really going towards one direction. And we know we want to be out of the system, kind of a lot more, some more than others, but really have everything that we need to be efficient, self efficient. And it's about that also. And it's about being happy. At the end of the day, it's about one thing, being happy. If you're not
Hmm.
happy, there's nothing worth living for. If you are unhappy, so it's all about happiness at the end of the day, and it become happier and happier. And we all have things that are blocked within us because we are not perfect, but we are going to work to get there. Maybe in our lifetime, I don't know.
Work in progress.
Work in infinite progress.
Yeah.
Mm.
like, okay, I don't know. Yeah, just like getting flayed to death, or like having somebody disrespect your corpse after they like torture you to death, and then you're just watching them disrespect your corpse, and you're like, bro, ugh,
I'm dead, bro. Can you
I
just
was
give
with
it
you
a
for like
minute?
29 years, bro. Like, come on, be nice to my meat sheet, bro. And and then other ones like I had, oh, the craziest one though was like a recurring nightmare.
Yeah.
Before I was supposed to move all my stuff from one city to another in the winter, and there's this like notoriously sketchy road area. I think it's about 30 kilometers, maybe 50 kilometers long, but it's like it's icy and curvy. It's in the Alpines, so
Hmm.
it's treacherous, right? And then there's also animals and stuff. Um, in my dream, semi truck hit me, my airbag failed, and I hit my head on the steering wheel. Like your eyes eject, your skull cap comes off. It's just like, and then once the force transfers, then the car comes behind you and the seat crushes your body into the front of the engine, and you become like merged with the dashboard because you're just leaking everywhere. And then you're like half out of the windshield, but like whatever's up here is now like jello. Like it's gnarly.
Joy.
And then there's like bone fragments everywhere. And like it's wild. And then the car accident happened, but it like ripped. I hit the semi was coming around the corner, and the front cab didn't hit me, but it had like a trailer behind it. And when it was turned, the trailer was protruding, right? And the edge of, as it's coming around the bend, here's the cab, here's the trailer. It like goes like that. My car hits. It rips the entire left side
Oh.
of the all the metal. The only thing that was left was the plastic inside of my door and a little thin aluminum bar that holds that's what they use to anchor the fucking plastic to the actual door. And I just
Yeah, we
started
want a
laughing.
dream and we can't wait to go to bed now.
Yeah,
I just
but
started
but
laughing.
that was not a dream, right? That card thing, like
That
you,
was real.
yeah, you had a real
That's
Ah,
accident. Yes,
wow. Okay,
Yes.
Yeah.
okay,
and it's
wow.
only like
Yeah.
the
Yeah, because
plastic
in
of
the
the
in the
interior of the
past,
door that remained. Everything like the door, everything
yeah,
was gone. It's just like a
I
little
Yeah.
flimsy tin plastic
Mm-hmm.
that stayed there.
Wow.
I wish I kept the pictures. I think my parents have a copy. It was too painful for me to keep. Like I just didn't want like that juju. Like so after a bit, I deleted them. But if I ever get the pictures, I'll send them to you guys. They're wild
Wow.
actually. But like that was actually the start of my like real seeking. Like before I did meditation, before like any of this stuff, that's actually what started all of it. And then the next day, I did DMT for the first time. And
Mm.
so it was like I cleared all the trauma right away. And then the entity that I spoke to in the DMT trip just like gave me so much information in like a space that was outside of time. Like it was wild. And it just like reorganized my brain
Mm-hmm.
basically and was like, okay, I'll like, no, don't hold on to this. Like that outcome isn't a reflection of your value. Like, just practical stuff, but it's like so hitting to the core because no one ever in your life tells you things like that,
Mm-hmm.
ever. Because it's just so real. It's so real. Like it's more real than our reality, the information you get. It's like the information you directly apply in that moment, it changes your life because you carry this new belief. And then, so I didn't have any of the like, like my reaction to that car accident actually was I laughed. I laughed so fucking hard because in my dream I died. And then when I was going through the past, this feeling of like, this cold feeling washes over me. And I'm like, I'm going to die soon. And then I literally said out loud, I don't know like how reality works, but I feel like I got more stuff to do. And then like 5, maybe 10 minutes later, the accident actually happened. And
Mm.
so, but who knows if I manifested it though? Like, so that's the wild thing. But whatever, it happened, right? Objectively, it did happen. And that was the start of me being like, there is something to this reality game we're playing. There sure is something.
Wow.
It's like,
It's a
it's wild.
crazy story. It's a crazy
It
story.
is.
Yeah.
It is
It is.
really crazy,
Yeah.
but it shows once again that we are protected.
Yes.
and everything happened for a reason. And I go back to your dreams, not having dreams, Jonathan, it's for a reason. You can definitely, do other things to make your dreams come back if really that's what you want. But there is nothing to fear. Just, really feel into it, if that's if that is what you want, really. But we have to admit that we are protected, and we have to realize it. And whatever you are not seeing, maybe it's just not the time to see it. But in the future, maybe you will remember your dream again. And I'm just thinking about Andrew not dying that day, not being crashed. We have to
It was
admit.
so funny because the people behind me were like, "Are you okay?" And I like get out, I'm like laughing, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this guy's fucked up." But I was fine. I'm just like laughing to myself. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Like whatever." Anyways, sorry.
No, no, no. You're still alive, and I think that's what keeps us alive when we are not taking things too seriously. And that was your way of transmuting a very traumatic situation. You
Yes,
know, you
that's why
transmute that
dark
shit.
humor exists. Actually, dark
Absolutely.
humor is a psychological like
Mm-hmm.
uh, airbag.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
Something terrible
Mm-hmm.
happens. People are in war. They have to make fun of it
Mm-hmm.
because if they don't, they're angry or they're sad, and their psyche can only the nervous system can literally only tolerate that for so long before destruction of the system is like almost guaranteed.
Mm.
Like you can't be in a state like in a high stress environment and your nervous system is wired with overwhelming despair
Mm-hmm.
or anger and hatred. Although anger and hatred can take you pretty far,
Mm-hmm.
truly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyways.
But anyways, all that to say, Jonathan, that we will have to do a channeling, okay? If you want to,
Okay.
of course.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
And
Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you.
we will talk about. Are you afraid of spirits or
No,
beings? No. Okay.
no.
Okay. Because you are there's definitely someone. I don't know who that person is, but there is definitely someone in something or something. Um,
Hmm.
mm,
Yeah, we'll have to dive into that some later.
yeah.
Well, I mean that'd be great. I don't know if I really, to me, I kind of treat it the same way. It's not really been that big of an issue. It's just I've just talked about it recently, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Like even with Andrew, it's not like I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't dream.
Oh,
So
okay.
because like I
Mm.
do, like honestly,
Perfect.
if there's things that just aren't really meant for me, I try to just be like, I
Chill.
guess universal fluid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because to me, like the ocean is just a representation of the field
Mm-hmm.
of the wave of energy that moves through it. You know what I mean? So I just try to be like the ocean.
Yeah.
But
Be water, my friend. Be water. So if
yeah,
ever you need,
exactly.
if ever the offer is still there.
Thank you. Yeah, I was gonna say. So I just want to wrap it up a little bit, kind of about the clips, but the final thoughts I had towards it, and then we can kind of finish here was, to me it was just kind of very spiritual how they were making all of it, and I think that that's where you're gonna kind of start to see a lot of society go. I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of say that. That's my feelings about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's gonna be a lot of religion and stuff coming up. I think it's already kind of being set. The stage is a little bit for that, and that's where they're really gonna drive a lot of people's energy.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree with what you said about putting energy into it. So for me, like I think that that's what we have to do is just focus on what we have to do to not be a part of that. You know what I mean? Like move the opposite direction,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So, but thank you guys for your time today.
Yeah.
Thanks to
I
you.
guess tomorrow we're gonna have a group meditation, which is cool for the
Yeah.
eclipse. So thank you guys for your time today. If anybody has any final thoughts or wants to say anything in closing,
All I have to say is that we create our reality. You create your reality, and don't let anybody tell you what your future is or what your future looks like,
Mhm.
because you can remold it at every second. So let's just enjoy that gift that it has been given to us, really.
Yeah. I agree to that statement. So I can just add the joy.
Joy.
Joy. Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up for the Eclipse podcast on the Raw podcast today, the 300. So
Yeah.
thank you, everybody. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and close this out.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
all
you.
right.
Thank you, everyone.